A lot of people would call this a 10. Here's why graders wouldn't. Today we're talking about the Pinsir 168 that I'm reviewing, and if you want to jump to a specific timestamp, here you go. The first section we're going to talk about is the card value and whether it's actually worth grading or not, because I don't want to waste my money and I don't want you to either. Now this card is worth $8.55 according to the collector app. When we're talking about the grading fees, I'm going to go through TAG through my local LGS who has actually an affiliation with them. So it's $20 per card and then a $5 shipping fee, giving us a total fee of $25 in total. Now, when we want to look at the actual grading amount, we're not just going to talk about the fee for actually submitting it for grading, but we also have to take in consideration if we bought the card or pulled it. If we pulled it, we didn't pay anything. If we bought it, we're adding an additional $8.55 on top of it. Now, if we bought the card, we have to take that purchasing price plus the actual grading fee, giving us $33.55. And you can see the only time that this card of this value is actually worth grading is if we're going to get a 10. Now, the centering of a card is not an art form. It is not a guesstimate. It is science. It is a measurement between the inside and outside border from the top and bottom, from the left and right on the front and back of a card. Looking at this edge grading centering tool we have, we can see the Pinsir here actually does qualify for a PSA 10 or a TAG 10 because the difference is less than 10% tolerance that is required for PSA or TAG. However, I am going through DegreeGrading, which is a lot more strict on their tolerance, which doesn't allow for more than a 0% shift. And what that means is the top and bottom and left and right have to be exactly 50-50. Unfortunately for me, the left and right is 4% difference, meaning it's still within the PSA and TAG tolerance, but not DegreeGrading. So I'm unfortunately not going to get a Gem Mint 10 just based off of that qualifier. And right here, we could just stop the video. There's no point in going forward necessarily, but for science, we're going to continue to move forward. Flip this card in the back and take a look at that as well, just to see what else we can find. Now, as we pull the back in and we get that scan as well, what we see here is a 50 out of 50. And what that means is exactly what we wanted on the front to get a Gem Mint 10. Now, this is perfect. 50 out of 50 on top and bottom and left and right means there's a 0% spread, meaning there is no variation in difference. And that means that it's a Gem Mint quality for any grading company you go for. So PSA has a tolerance of 50%, TAG has 30%, Degree has 6%, and 0% fits in that tolerance level. So we are great to go in the back, but unfortunately that front kind of screws us over for DegreeGrading. But if we submitted this to PSA or TAG, it'd be a lot different of a story. Now let's have some fun and move over to the surface of the card. Now the first thing that I like to do when I get the card in is clean off the front and back of the card with my microfiber cloth, just to make sure that there's no leftover residue or issues on the card and you're looking at a very clean card and there's nothing for you to question. After I'm doing that, I'm going to scan it underneath a little, an angled light that I have close to me, and I'm shifting it back and forth, and that allows you to see any kind of print defects or any kind of dotting or issues on the card a lot easier. And on the front of the card, we see an obvious dot near the left Pinsir horn for a foil speck. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but it stands out pretty obviously. So it's something that I knew when I bought the card, it was a defect, and I wanted to see how it would actually come back from a professional grader because of that. And then when we looked at the bottom of the tree stump, there's actually a minor dot near the base, and I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm trying to highlight it here. It's very hard to see in the camera, but there is a little difference in the card that stands out, and I wanted to notate that as well. I'm going to treat that as like an individual dot though. After looking at the front and back of the card, I don't see anything from a surface on the back, so I only have those two little specks that I noticed in the front. It's not going to be a huge thing, but it is noticeable, so we're going to manage that and notate it for us. Now let's take our next step and look at the corners and edges. Let's start with the edge first. Now the first thing I noticed when looking at the card is at that 110 HP, there is actually a slight speck near it. So I wanted to notate that, and that is something that I treat, again, the same as a dot. It's a minor thing. It takes a few dots to actually fall out that Gem Mint area, but it does impact the actual grading. And something that was a little weird is that I noticed on the back of the card when I flipped it over, that same speck was on the top left of the card. So it makes me think that like it is a speck, it could potentially be an indentation. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it's probably more of an indentation, but again, it's still minor. If it shows on both sides, it's most likely going to be an indentation. And now as we're evaluating the card for corners, we're kind of just doing the same thing here. We're going to go ahead and spin it around underneath the angled light. We're going to look at the front and back because it's a two-layered material. So there is something that can be imperfections on the front, but not the back. So take that in consideration when you're evaluating your own card. Now, as we look at the corner of the card, what I like to do is shift the card around underneath an angled light. Again, the front and back are two different material layers, so you have to look at them separately. And when we're looking at the corners on the back, bottom left, I do notice a white speck. My first thought is if I see like a white dot or something along those lines is to question whether it's actually like an alignment dot off the actual printer when they make the cards. So I try to keep that in mind because if that's the case, it's not going to actually really impact the grade. Most companies don't hold that against you. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do instead is put this underneath the magnifying glass or the microscope in here. When we look through the microscope, we can actually tell it's not a dot. So it's not a factory print defect, because if it was, it'd be a paint dot and not an actual tear or speckling within the card. And that's the biggest difference to tell between the two. Now for the final prediction of this card, generally the centering on this card is a 10. According to DegreeGrading, it is a 9 automatically, so unfortunately we do fall in that category there. Now for the surface, it's right between an 8 to 9, but Degree doesn't use an 8.5 rubric, so I'm going to just bump it up to a 9 and go up a little bit. And at the edges and corners, I also call that a 9. I do think that there's a potential that could be more strict on the edges because of the fact that on that one border there was an indentation, but I'm going to say it's a 9 just to see how it comes back and how they treat that themselves. So in total, I believe that this card is going to be locked in at a 9 overall. Now, if you guess that this potentially is a 10, I completely understand why you might think that, and that could potentially be the grade with someone like PSA where it's manual grading and they're doing it in less than 60 seconds. However, when we're looking at this through AI integrated grading, or doing it through Tag or Degree, we're definitely not going to hit a 10 on this. And if we did, I'd be very, very surprised. Now, I would love it if you could leave a comment down below as what grade do you think this card earns, as well as why you gave him that rating, because that'd really help me out if I could take some lessons from you guys as well. Now, I hope you really enjoyed this video because I just got a notice from DegreeGrading that this card is actually coming back here in the next week. So keep an eye out for those card reveal videos coming out soon. You'll actually get to see this grade in the upcoming weeks. Until next time, keep guessing that grade.